Hi, my name is Cecilia. Today I'm going to be talking about your digital, especially, and your physical identity. The identity that I will be talking about today will be in series. Today I will be covering series 1 of digital and physical identity. Today coverage will be on the high level content, the abstract of your digital, especially digital identity. This topic or presentation today will cover the personal identity formation, identity presentation, identity representation, inwardly and outwardly, in relation to your identity communication. The main objective today will be for you to understand the attributes that contribute and facilitate and affect your identity. The identity that I'll be talking about explains how individual or individuals are forming, ascribing, presenting, representing, and communicate their ID, their personal identities. The personal identities in the eyes of the observer, in the eyes of the viewers, both digitally and physically. What are the problems of identity? In this internet or digital context, identity theft is one of the issues. Identity disaster, identity crisis, identity defamation, identity misrepresentation, fake identity, and mistaken identity. What contributes to identity contest? Today, online and related social media have becoming essential parts of people's lives. The online helps us to stay connected. It also helps facilitating and sharing of information. According to some researchers, in their findings, they said the content that we expose ourselves to on the media and on the online change the way we think about ourselves and about others. These researchers are the Groman, Kurtz, and Skarnida. The research was conducted in 2012. Let me define to you the identity that I'm talking about today again. This identity is as related to individual's unique personality, individual's unique characteristics. This identity is described either by your own self-assertions or by the assertions of others who are viewing and observing the attribute of identity that you are presenting. Today, a person's digital identity could be your online personal information. Your online personal information can attribute or definitely attribute to your identity today. Your digital identity is an amalgamation or mixture of any or all the attributes and information available online that can be linked to your physical identity. This identity is also defined as it is a socially recognized position that requires some elements of choice about who you are, what you know, the social group you want to be identified with, and also share your identity with. In the process of this identity, Martin Luther King Jr. once defined your identity to be your self-blueprint. Martin Luther King Jr. defined the identity to be your self-blueprint, your self-somebodyness. That is how Martin Luther King perceived identity in his research claim. Today, I also want you to know that your identity, how is this identity being created or formed? In the journey of your identity performed, an identity constructed is also the same as your ascribed identity and your subjective identity. You ask me a question. What is ascribed identity? And what is a subjective identity? Yes, I will tell you. Your subjective identity is your inward identity. Your own identity in your eyes. How you see yourself. How you can define yourself. What you know about yourself. If somebody asks you who you are, you should be able to tell who you are. And this identity that you are defining, that is your own in your own eyes, this is the identity that tells about you. It can be identity you inherited, born identity. The first identity you actually build when you were born, it could be your gender and your name. When you have a baby, the first thing you notice will be the gender, your born identity. That is the gender of that individual. Later on, within few days along the line, you'll be given a name. Your gender and your name are the two identities that you have as soon as you surface into this earth, and they stay with you permanently. Your ascribed identity is your outward identity. Your identity in the eyes of others. This is your ascribed identity. How did the viewers, the observers, ascribing this identity from you? Is through your presentation of your identity, through communication of your identity, through representation of your identity, and facilitation of your identity. How do you communicate your identity to people? Matters. Where you communicate the identity, your identity to the observers also matters. There is this word saying, how you see yourself and present yourself may not necessarily, or will not even necessarily be the same way others will see you and represent you. Vice versa. Take note of people that you allow to represent you and ask yourself, are they represent you equitably the way you want to be represented? Are they communicating your identity in a context that you want your identity to be communicated? And what they are using are what you yourself are using to communicate your identity. If it's picture or pictures, are those elements representative to your identity? You ask yourself. And who do you allow to represent you or represent your identity, especially in a digital context? Who do you allow to write on your wall? And what are they writing? Be cognizant and be very, very watchful and jealously guide your identity. This is the phase 1 or the series 1 of your identity, both physically and digitally. The next series will be covering the formation of your identity. How do you form your identity? Your original identity has been given birth to, which is your name, your sex, and the things around you, the community. Your parents have attributes towards your identity. The community that you grew up, that you were born in, the environment, the culture, they also have a lot to say about the formation of your identity. But when this identity is being created, is being formed, how do you build on it? And how do you protect this identity? Jealously guide your identity. The second series will be posted as well. The purpose is for you to understand the attributes that contribute to your identity and how you can jealously guard your identity, how you can protect it. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, your identity is your own self-blueprint. It is your somebodyness. Take care. Be blessed. And thank you.